right, welcome everybody. We're going to start right on time, 5:30. We're ready to go. So sometimes when you're the director of Fit for Life, you can never hide in a small community. I got busted twice this last week. I was at a birthday celebration for a patient on Friday night, and I got a cupcake, and I was spotted. And then I don't know if the person I saw, there's a donut place over by Union, that was you. I was there. Now I thought, there are no cars in the parking lot, I'm safe. Then I walked in and she's standing in line. She looks around and says, "You're not supposed to be here." And I said, "I'm getting it for my staff," which that was true. There's like nowhere to hide. I mean, it's terrible. I have to tell you one more story. You know, when you get something in your head, you just want to have it. Nobody's going to tell you can't have it. So I wanted a Snickers bar one day at the hospital. So right on the way to the cafeteria, they have these vending machines. So I put my money in, and the Snickers bar wouldn't come out. And I was getting pretty mad. And it started to push it out, but it wouldn't drop. So I put another 75 cents and it wouldn't drop. And I looked around, nobody was there, and I was getting really upset with this vending machine. Like, I wanted that candy bar even more. So I tried to shake it. Then one of the maintenance guys saw me, and he was trying to tip it with me, and I thought, I shouldn't be eating a candy bar right now. So I'm still working on that. All right, so this week, you guys have got through a really important part of the program, which is foods that make you heal. We talked about foods, supplements, and water. I'm going to just try to do a quick recap, and I want to spend most of the time talking about supplements and answering questions, because that's a really important topic that we could spend a lot of time on. I want to make sure we have enough time to talk about that and answer questions. So this last week, oops, this isn't advancing. Hang on a second here. It was working. Am I too close? No? Let's see if I can get this to advance. Don't know why it's not working. No, but I can do this slide advance, I think. Okay. So these are how did you do this week with this exercise? Looking at all these things in your pantry, all your foods in your pantry and your refrigerator that have things in them that are really not good for you. What's that? Okay, we're gonna have to stop talking about sugar now. We're all gonna get hungry, right? Yes, I mean it's surprising how sugar is in almost everything. Enriched flour, are you getting more comfortable with that? That can be a little bit tricky. As we go through the food labels section, I think it'll be easier for you to understand how to apply that. Okay. So I wanted to show you, I was going to show you a picture of my dad, but I think it's better to show you the video. Now this was him when he was 91. He was a World War II veteran, I think I mentioned that, and he also was a pole vaulter at Ohio State. And he started doing these push-ups for every time Ohio State would score a touchdown, he'd do 7 push-ups or whatever. And so we decided at 91 we ought to try to get him in and see if he can do push-ups with the cadets. So I called the commandant of the Marines, and they said, "Sure, we'll put you right in front of the flagpole and let him do his thing." So somebody at Ohio State put this little video together. I think it was kind of a neat video. Now you'll see he didn't, the cadets, if the score is 34, if it's 20, I don't know what it would be, 27, Ohio State's got 27 points and they score a touchdown, extra point, now it's 34. The Marines just do accumulative, they'll do 34 push-ups. And my dad was like trying to keep up with them. I said, "Dad, just do 7. So you'll see when he does these that this was like 52 points this day. And it was a hot day, and I went to the bathroom like 3 times because I was drinking. He didn't go once. I was actually worried about him. But you'll see his push-ups turn into kind of a plank with a hip wiggle, but we're okay. So let me play you this little video clip that they put together for him. Whoops. Logan, I'm really messing up. Let me see if I can make that. I can't seem to can't get the cursor to go over there, Logan. Oh, shoot. We had it going here before we started. Okay. Yeah. There should be volume on there. How do we get the volume? There we go. Here.
That's him.
On the left.
Oh, here.
So we just go past that.
How old is your dad, Dr. McKnight?
95.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he was doing push-ups 2 Saturdays ago. You know, when who'd they play? Maryland, was it? And yeah, he's got a lot to do. So, all right. So the first topic was oxidative stress, right? And oxidative stress is the mechanism of anything that goes wrong in your body, whether it's heart disease, cancer, arthritis, acid reflux, autoimmune conditions. Oxidative stress is the mechanism that causes all of these problems. So if we could slow down the influence of oxidative stress, we can preserve our health and prolong our life. So we talked about the vehicle of oxidative stress was the free radical. And hopefully the concept is clear to you. It's an unpaired electron is a free radical. So the way we stop this nuclear reaction that happens all the time is we find a molecule that's got an extra electron it can donate to neutralize that, make sure everything's paired up. The antioxidant is the molecule that has an extra electron it can spare. So it's always better to give than to take, right? So antioxidants are good because they give electrons to neutralize the oxidative stress. So this is how cancer starts. When this happens and you can't neutralize that free radical, this is the beginning of a cancer. This is how heart disease develops. This is why your arthritis hurts more over time. So just an important but pretty simple concept. So when you go to a health food store and you get antioxidants, it's like molecules up there on the left. That's exactly what they're doing. It's really pretty simple. And then we talked about different types of oxidative stress. Just everyday wear and tear, just normal life, normal metabolism creates these free radicals. And then we can expose ourselves to toxins either purposely or inadvertently through the environment. And then there's ionizing radiation, and we talked about this. So if our life is fairly balanced, we should be okay, especially if we get our antioxidants from nature's storehouse, which is plants, berries and vegetables in particular. And I tried to illustrate this the best I could just with the sizes of these boxes to show you that it really comes from food more than anything. Supplements play a role, and I believe water can play a role in helping us, but the primary source of antioxidants isn't at the health food store. It's with the foods that you eat. Okay, so I mentioned nature has a prescription to help us. Nature is perfect. Helps us from free radical damage. That's the image. Okay, so lots of color, and these are fruits and vegetables. This is where we primarily heal. So next week we'll talk about starting to plan our diets and our menus so that we can get these foods in the diet. This week is just planting the seed. These foods are designed to help us heal. So as you think about what you're going to have for lunch or dinner, whatever meal you're eating, these are the foods you should always try to get on your plate first. Make sure you get those. Okay, so we talked about healing foods, and it's pretty simple, right? This is the healing food pyramid. If we go by the food pyramid from the 1970s, that's going to make you obese, cause you to hurt more, propagate your heart disease, put you more at risk for cancer. Because you remember what was on the base of the old food pyramid? Carbohydrates. Like 11 servings of starch a day. 11 pieces of bread. Start with that. How many of you are going to lose weight doing that? Like probably nobody. So this is the key. These are I put these really colorful pictures up here to show you that's what you need to be seeing on your plate. The next level up are grains, beans, and then nuts and seeds. And nuts and seeds, a lot of people are afraid to eat this because they have fat in them. Well, they'll actually make you feel full, and they will not turn on your insulin. They won't make you fat. They'll make you feel full, and they're great source of nutrients. And then on the top, nature said, I got a dessert for you, and that's the fruits. The berries are always going to be a better choice because they have less sugar. Watermelon and pineapple and some of those other foods that have a lot of sugar in them, they're okay to eat occasionally, but we have to be careful that we don't eat too much if we're trying to lose weight. And then on the very top are the lean protein sources. We'll talk about your protein requirements next week, but they're not as great as you think. Okay, then we talked about healing water, which is probably a new concept to most of you. Most of you know you're supposed to drink water, but we're one big biochemical reaction, and you got to have enough water for that biochemistry to work. I think I mentioned in the video, when you go to the emergency room and you're sick, the first thing they do is hook you up and give you a bag of IV fluids, right? Because they want to make sure that your biochemistry is working in your favor. This is also interesting. Children, babies in particular, are up to 80% of their body weight's water. And they're obviously smooth skin, they're healthy, they're growing fast, and then the elderly just get really dehydrated. And it's really important when you're older to drink a lot of fluid. My dad's and my uncle both had problems with urinary infections because with their prostates enlarged, they knew it was hard to empty their bladder. And rather than have to worry about emptying a bladder that doesn't want to empty, they just cut down on their water intake, and they ended up with really bad infections. My grandfather was on the floor for about 12 hours before somebody found him. And this is really common in the elderly. But we all have to find a way to really stay hydrated well, especially as we age. Okay, the other thing is we are electrical energy, right? We've already talked about that. We have atoms, and we have electrons that move in those atoms. We're electrical energy, and we can conduct electricity because we have water in our bodies. Blood carries the life by the energy that's stored in water. And I know that's kind of an awkward statement, but I want to try to show you with the next slide why that's true. Oops, there we go. Okay, this is just a passage from the Old Testament. Now, Dr. Pollack has done some really fascinating research. There are water scientists, biochemists, who have devoted their entire career in studying water. And you think, how boring is that? Actually, it's fascinating. The H2 molecule and what it does in living systems, it's really, really interesting, I think. So he proved with his research that water exists. We know it exists as a liquid, a solid, and a gas, right? But did you know there's a fourth phase of water? And the fourth phase of water occurs at the interfaces of water and whatever else it bumps into. And this is right from his book. It has profound implications for chemistry, physics, and biology, and they are pursuing and studying these in great detail. So he talks about this fourth phase of water in his book, and this is what happens in your body. It's what happens in any body of water when it bumps into another molecule. So these are the water molecules right here, these oval shapes. They're positively and negatively charged because they have hydrogen, which is a positive charge, and oxygen, which is a negative charge. And this is the surface. So if this is inside your cell, and you've got a protein in your cell that looks like this straight line, the water molecules are going to line up to it with their charges, their negative charges on the protein lined up with the positive charge of the water molecule. And then the water molecules are going to form layers. And they call this the exclusion zone because everything else in water is not found at this interface. Chloride and sodium, calcium, magnesium, they're all up here. And so when you just have an arrangement that looks like this, it's got some really interesting properties with biology. He calls this liquid crystal water. This is like a computer chip. It's kind of like a liquid crystal computer chip, and it can transfer energy very fast. Okay, so he talks about this, and the source of this, you can find this water, this fourth phase, in clouds. You can find it when a lightning strikes a body of water, and you can find it anywhere where water is bumping into something else that has a protein in it. Okay, so this is liquid crystal water. I think I showed you previously that I wrote a book about this, and I was really skeptical about all of it. But as I studied this, I realized that everything that I've read and researched about liquid crystal water, this fourth phase of water, the water that exists in your cells, obeys nature's lessons that we talked about in week 2. Balance and harmony, order and sequence, and independence and interdependence. So it's found along these structures in your cells. And here's the cool thing about this. Why would the body do that? Why would it say at the surface of a protein molecule or your DNA or a fat in your cell, we're just going to have water layers lined up with no other chemicals in it? Why would it do that? Well, because it allows for the rapid transfer of energy. And that's what you need in your nervous system. You have to have lightning fast nerves to conduct the electricity that you need to perform at a high level. It's much faster than regular nerve conduction. And it conducts these protons 40 times faster than bulk water. So bulk water would be water out of a faucet. Water out of a faucet, it's got everything mixed in it. It's got chloride and magnesium and calcium and sodium and H2O molecule. That's called bulk water. But when it's in your body, it organizes this way, and it conducts protons 40 times faster. That means your body really relies on this kind of water. It makes it really special. Okay, so this was the book that I wrote several years ago, and when I learned about this, I actually learned about this from somebody in Fit for Life. She lived here in Dover, and she was telling me, you ought to come to one of these meetings. And I'm like, I don't have any time for a meeting about water. What is there to know about water that I don't know? But I decided to go after she bugged me enough. And I wasn't really buying any of the testimonials. I was interested in the experiments they were doing with the water right in front of me, with using meters and instruments that I had used when I was in the lab at Ohio State. So on this slide, and we'll get you we'll make sure you get a copy of this. We'll send it to you or post it on the Facebook page so you can go back to refer to this. But if you want to really see what this water can do and what this machine can do, you just go to this video, you just Google this, Pat Boone introduces Kangen water, and you see how it cleans your produce. You'll see how it's very rich in antioxidants and all the other properties that you can use with this machine. So it's, I'm really glad I have this. I drink this every day. In fact, I will put a video out on the Facebook page and show you what happens with this water, because I'll drink a glass of this in the morning and it comes out cloudy. And the reason it's cloudy is because it has gas molecules in it. And the gas molecules are hydrogen gas. and it dissipates pretty quickly. But hydrogen gas is full of energy. It helps everything. It helps your brain function quicker, everything. And I'll show you in the video that I released that when the water is running out of this stream right here, because I have a unit like this, I can light a match to it and the water will combust. It'll crack and spark because of the hydrogen gas in it. The hydrogen gas is very unstable. You can't put this in a bottle and drink it a week later because it's gone. It's unstable. But when you drink it fresh, you're getting that. And the antioxidant properties are really impressive. So this is a picture of Tom Brady, who's really into health and fitness, obviously, and he's got one of these in his home. Yeah, you just connect it to your sink, actually. Yeah, you connect it to your sink, and you put a little diverter in, and you can either have tap water out of your sink, or it can go through the machine. This is kind of the image of this feature called ORP, the oxidation reduction potential, is when it's real negative like this, it means it's got antioxidant properties. And we can show you this. Actually, if you watch that video with Pat Boone, you'll see what the meters, what they're talking about. It's really impressive. These things are oxidizing. So full of free radicals, they're aging, right? It's rusting your body. Those negative oxidation reduction potential readings are antioxidants. So they slow the aging process. They help you to heal. And of course, what I was trying to get at earlier is that vegetables and fruits, you're going to find that they're all on the negative side. That means they're full of life and full of energy. These things are dead. And if we could put, Ritz crackers in here, it would be a positive. It's dead. There's no energy in that. So we want to put what nature's created, those foods with it rich in energy, because that energy from the sun that makes the pigments in those plants, that's still storing that energy. And when we eat that, it gives us energy. But my point with this is that there's a machine that makes this energy, but it doesn't store it very long. That's why you almost have to have a machine like this. Now, these are not cheap machines, but some of you might be interested and want to look into it. Okay, then we talked about supplements. And the question is our food adequate to protect us from all those free radical insults, right? From the stress of everyday life, from the exposures, from pesticides, herbicides, sunlight, ultraviolet light, microwaves, all those things. Is it enough? And I just think this is a really interesting slide that says a salad today only contains 15 to 75% of the nutrients, plus it's rich in pesticides and nitrates compared to the same salad 80 years ago, 1940. Okay, so one of the reasons we're struggling so much with hormones, because I do this a lot in my practice, men with low testosterone, women with bleeding and hysterectomies and terrible time with PMS, these are the reasons why this is happening, because of these pesticides and these other environmental toxins that's really throwing our hormones out of balance. So it's really important that you understand that spinach or salad or anything that you eat today doesn't have the nutrients in it that as much as it probably should, or at least what it used to have. So we talked about the history of the recommended dietary allowance, first published in 1942. And their purpose wasn't to tell you what each of you should eat, like how much vitamin C do each of you need. The purpose of those was to study populations. So for children, they need this much vitamin C. For healthy adults, they need this much. For pregnant women or lactating women, they need this much. It was never meant for an individual. So I found doing studies on my own blood and my own nutritional state that the 60 milligrams of vitamin C that is a requirement is not near enough to what I need. I need like 500 milligrams. So it's grossly underestimated. So you can't look on a food label and say, oh, this is 45% of the RDA for vitamin A. If I get 2 of these, I almost have my requirement. No, because we don't know what your requirement is. This was based on healthy people and populations of healthy people. But who is healthy? And there's no way to individualize what each of you need in the different forms of nutrition. Whoops, that worked too good. Let's see here. Okay. All right, so this is a lengthy statement, but it's trying to point out the fact that they were doing the best they could in 1942, telling us what our nutritional needs were. they revised these guidelines, what was it, 10 times, 8 times, 10 times. When I was studying for my PhD exam in nutrition, I had to know this book. And that was like one of the main things I had to be ready for my exam. And it was the 1989 RDA requirements. That's the last time they did that. So why did they stop? Anybody know why they stopped making recommendations? They don't have those anymore. I mean, they have them, but they're not really pushing the idea. The reason they stopped is they don't know what to tell people. It's too hard to give an individual their own nutritional unique intake requirements. Okay, so again, they're doing the best they can. This is kind of a lengthy statement. So the 10th edition, the book that I was studying for my nutrition PhD, it says the RDAs are neither minimal requirements nor necessarily optimal levels of intake. It's impossible at this time to establish optimal for each of us because we each have our own unique needs. We have absorption issues, we have history, we have gut imbalances. So it's hard to know what that should be. So why do we need supplements? First of all, we're malnourished, right? We probably don't get the kind of nutrition we need. We're eating food that's nutrient depleted. Maybe not always, but it's probably not as rich in nutrients as we think it should be. And if you're eating packaged foods, processed foods, or fast foods, that's clearly deficient of the micronutrients. It's going to give you calories, but it's not going to give you the micronutrients, selenium, zinc, and vitamin C, and vitamin D, and all the other ones that you need. And then this one, I hope you looked at this in your workbook on page 86 and 87, the table, because every medication you take has a negative impact on your nutritional status. And so I listed some of the common medications, the cholesterol medicines, some of the blood pressure medicines, antibiotics, acid reflux medicines. They all have a negative impact on your nutrition. So we need to understand what some of those impacts are and correct for the fact that they block some of our nutrient absorption. And then we know that the aging and environmental exposures result in this oxidative damage that damages the DNA, the proteins, and the fatty acids in our body. So this is another reason why we need supplements. So I need 500 milligrams of vitamin C just to be balanced. So if I play 2 hours of basketball and I'm breathing heavy and I'm breathing a lot of oxygen in, what's oxygen going to do? It's going to deliver oxygen to my tissue, but oxygen is also a free radical. So it's going to cause tissue breakdown and damage. So I always take more vitamin C when I exercise. So I usually take 2,000 milligrams a day. And that's kind of in line with what a lot of doctors are saying you should be taking now as a preventive against COVID or getting really sick from COVID.
3,000?
2,000,
2,000?
yeah.
In addition to eating an orange?
Yep, yeah, because remember the orange is, it's hard to know how much vitamin C is in an orange. And they've done studies where they've taken an orange from different grocery stores in different parts of the country, and there's huge tenfold difference in those micronutrients because of where it's grown. Okay, so this is, I know this is a little busy. Some of you don't like this chemistry stuff, but I think it really makes an important point because I have, and many of you have this same problem. I don't make that chemical very well. The enzyme that makes that is only 60% effective in my body. 25% of you have the same defect and you don't know it. And yeah, there we go, 65%. So what does that do? Well, I feel like I don't know if that's jiggling for you, but it's jiggling for me. So if I don't have this is like like a watch that's turning this way and a wheel that's turning this way. If this isn't there, this isn't going to turn that way, and this is going to get stuck here and it's going to build up. And when that builds up, that injures the lining of your blood vessels. And you don't even know that's happening. So how do we fix that? Oh, you can't see that very well. Okay, but this is something we didn't measure for you, but if you have any risk or worry about heart disease, you should have your doctor measure this, the homocysteine level. It should be less than 7. That means you don't have a lot of that in your blood. If you have too much of that and it's not being converted into something else, it injures the lining of your blood vessels. It's toxic to your blood vessels. Okay, so there's a couple of really, here we go. There's a couple of these deficiencies of folic acid, B6 and B12 raises this, because can you see how B6 is involved in getting homocysteine this direction, and folic acid helps to turn the wheel this way, and vitamin B12 helps to turn the wheel this way. So if you have folic acid here and B12, you get rid of homocysteine this way. If you have B6, you get rid of it this way. Okay, that's what you want to be able to do. Okay, let's see what happened here. So here's the point. I measured my homocysteine level, and I'll show you this at the end, but it was I don't know, 10 or 11, it was too high. And I thought, oh, I need to get that down. How do I get it down? Well, if I get enough folic acid, B12 and B6, then it pushes this reaction forward and gets rid of the homocysteine. And how do you do that? Just take a B complex, 1 B complex a day. It's got all those B vitamins in it. You don't need B12 and folic acid separately. Get it in 1 B complex. Take it every day. That will drive that forward. And I'll show you my lab results how it lowered my homocysteine level. And here's why this is important. When I understood this a little bit better, I got tested for this enzyme, and I found out I have a defect. Both of my parents have had open heart surgery. They both had blockages requiring open heart surgery in their late 70s, early 80s. So it wasn't early onset heart disease, it was late onset heart disease. Probably for this very reason, because when I checked them, they both have the same biochemical defect. If they had known this 30 or 40 years ago and would have taken a B complex every day, there's a chance that they would not have needed the open heart surgery. Okay. Now I know this is even more complicated, but I'll just point out there's the enzyme that wasn't working in me and my parents, only 60% active. So if that doesn't work, these wheels don't turn the direction they should, and things start to build up. There's the homocysteine level that when this doesn't work, this builds up and causes problems. And then we talked about nitric oxide helping men with erection problems, helping blood flow everywhere. Well, this is the enzyme that makes nitric oxide right here. But this requires 8 cofactors to really do well to make this. Those cofactors are micronutrients. So you've got to have those you're not going to get that in fast foods or packaged foods. You're going to get that in foods from the produce section of the store. Okay, so here's the enzyme right here that makes nitric oxide. So you can see that all of these reactions can impact the other. So if you have a deficiency here and you have this, you're likely to have a deficiency in nitric oxide. So guess what was happening to me the last 3 years? With a deficiency in nitric oxide, my blood pressure started to go up. And there were times my blood pressure would be 140, 150, 160, and I get a headache, and I'm like, I don't feel good. I check my blood pressure, it's 160 over 92. And I'm like, shoot, I need a blood pressure medicine. I'm exercising, I need a blood pressure medicine. So I got a blood pressure pill. I started to take it. It brought my blood pressure down, but it brought it so far down I was getting lightheaded. So once I understood this, I just started to take that nitric oxide supplement. And today I was at the doctor's office, blood pressure is 130 over 74. And usually when I check it's in the 120s. This is the lowest my blood pressure has been in 20 years with fixing this problem right here by bypassing this. Now, you can hope that with the right foods, you can enhance the activity of this enzyme. But the point is this is all related. And the other point I'm trying to make is this is micronutrients you need, these B vitamins and these minerals. So we're not getting enough of these because how many of you have blood pressure problems? How many of you men have problems with erections? How many of us don't have the energy that we need, or we have early onset heart disease? I mean, we're all in need of this. Okay, so there's just more stuff on there that you don't need to see. Okay, so other factors that influence your nutrition, the health of your gut. We don't even have time to really talk about that, but that's a huge issue. If you got chronic acid reflux, your gut's not healthy. If you're taking something for heartburn all the time, your gut isn't healthy. And it's not healthy because you're not putting the right food in your body. Too much caffeine, too much alcohol, too much nicotine, too big of a belly, too much processed foods, too many cooked meats. Those are the reasons people have acid reflux. Frequent antibiotic use. You take an antibiotic for bronchitis and then one for a urinary infection or one for acne, and you're killing all this bad bacteria, but you're wiping out all the healthy bacteria in your gut. And then the gut is really struggling. It becomes imbalanced, and you develop a condition called leaky gut. Chronic constipation, diarrhea, that's another sign that something isn't right in your gut, and so you're not going to absorb these micronutrients. Prescription medicines, I showed you how they impact everything, and inflammatory bowel disease, you definitely have leaky gut. Then there's environmental toxins. We talked about prescriptions. A diet that's low in live enzyme-rich food is going to impact your nutritional status in a negative way. So that's packaged foods. Yes?
The frequent antibiotic use,
Mm-hmm.
I had cellulitis from a spider bite in October 26th. Yeah. On November 10th, I had a fever. They put me in the hospital, Trinity. I was on antibiotics, 11 different kinds, in the hospital. I was hospitalized twice, all the way till the end of January. Is that too long? I mean, it was solid antibiotic.
That's a lot of antibiotics, first of all.
It is.
And sometimes it could take years to heal. But I always tell people when you take antibiotics, take a probiotic. Take a refrigerated, capsulized probiotic. They have bacteria in them, right? They should be in a capsule, and they should be live. When they sell you a probiotic that comes in a tablet that's sitting on the pharmacy shelf, I don't know how there's any live bacteria pressed in a tablet that's sitting at room temperature. So I'd get the Florigen or anything that's refrigerated and encapsulated.
I do.
And you take that for a month. Get a bottle when you're on the antibiotics. Take it intermittently. Don't take it with your antibiotic because your antibiotic is going to kill those bacteria. Take it in between and take it until that bottle is gone. It might take you a month or 6 weeks, but restore that. Your gut should be like this lush garden full of the bacteria. Should be like you got flowers here, you got bushes and shrubs and plants and trees. That's what that analogy is like. When you take antibiotics, it's like a forest fire comes through and wipes everything out. So you got to plant those seeds again because they're there to keep you healthy.
How come the doctors or nobody said?
Well, some of them do, but a lot of this is not something they're familiar with or they've been trained in. It's not part of medical school training. That's all there is to it. Okay.
Guess I got a healthy gut. I didn't have C. diff.
Yeah, well, you're lucky because you were really you could have got that easily.
Oh, yeah.
So the most common water-soluble vitamin deficiency are the B vitamins. This isn't from me, this is from the experts. And we talked about high homocysteine. Vitamin C is kind of right below vitamin B as far as a water-soluble deficiency. The most common fat-soluble deficiency is vitamin D3. You guys all have to take at least 5,000 units of vitamin D a day. If you're overweight, you need 10,000. I think I mentioned this to you, but they did a study with COVID patients. 79 COVID patients come in the hospital, and they're going to be admitted. Did I tell you this? I don't know if I told you this. Okay. So they come in the hospital to be admitted, and they give one group placebo, the other group randomly assigned to a high-dose vitamin D, about 10,000 units a day. And they follow these two groups. The placebo group, 50% of those people ended up in the ICU. You know what percent of the vitamin D group ended up in the ICU? 2% versus 50%. Such an easy thing to do. And a lot of hospitals aren't doing it. We measure their vitamin D level when they come in, and then we give them a heavy dose of vitamin D. Vitamin D charges your immune system. It tells your immune system, wake up, go do your job. So you want that when you're fighting an infection. But you never know when that's going to happen, so take it every day. There is no way you can get enough vitamin D living in Ohio without supplementing. And I've been measuring vitamin D levels in patients for years, and we're all deficient. And when your doctor says, oh, your vitamin D level is 34, you're okay. No, you're not. Because anything below 30 is deficient, 60 to 80 is optimal. 60 to 80 is where you want to be for COVID. 60 to 80 is where you want to be for osteoporosis, for everything else related to vitamin D. So 5,000 units of a good quality supplement like they have at Mako's is going to get you there. And it may even need to be higher. The most common mineral deficiency is magnesium. And this is really important. Don't get magnesium oxide. Almost every pharmacy sells this. This is what we use in our hospital. It's on our formulary. It doesn't work. It doesn't get absorbed. What you want is a good one that gets absorbed and works well. So this would be magnesium glycinate, which Mako's carries. The most common trace element deficiency is selenium. So you should think about selenium. In the Great Lakes area, there's a selenium deficiency in the soil. And unless the farmers are purposely putting selenium in their soil, you're not going to get it in your produce. And then, then you can consider some really good antioxidants. Nitric oxide is a good antioxidant, turmeric, fish oil. I just put turmeric because I like that one the best. That's what I take. I used to take fish oil, but I don't take it anymore just because, you don't spend so much money on supplements. CoQ10, if you're on a statin, cholesterol medicine, absolutely you got to take CoQ10 because the statin cholesterol medicines will lower your CoQ10 levels.
And no one told me that either,
No, because they don't know it.
until I called Kelly.
Yeah, they just don't know it. And then there's a role for probiotics and maybe food enzymes if you're having a lot of acid reflux. You can take food enzymes with your meal to help you digest the food so you don't have so much acid reflux. So, yes.
So if you do take the food enzymes, then does that neutralize the nitric oxide?
No.
Because, okay.
Yeah, nitric oxide. If you take that nitric oxide lozenge, you'll belch in about 10 minutes. That's a good sign because that's the nitric oxide gas that's been made. You're releasing some, but the rest of it's getting absorbed to the stomach and going into your blood. But it won't interfere with the enzymes because it's not a protein or anything. Yes, ma'am.
What brand of vitamins do you recommend? You said you're Mako's, but what is it?
It's called the Nutriscriptive line. You can also go to nutriscriptives.com, but Mako's is actually selling these at a 10% discount. So it's a pretty good deal. So these are the supplements that I take, and I take them based on the last slide, knowing what those most common nutrient deficiencies are. This is what I've taken and what I recommend for patients. So people say, why do I need to be complex? When I take that, it turns my urine really yellow. Yeah, it does. But you don't want high homocysteine levels. You want those, you want all those reactions functioning optimally. When I take care of people in the hospital, it's my chance to kind of play with nutrition and study things. So I get labs just for my own learning. Most people are low in folic acid and their B12 levels are pretty high because a lot of people are taking B12, but their folic acid levels are low. So like pregnant women, they always get folic acid and a prenatal vitamin. But most of us, we don't think about how important it is for us. Okay, so let me go on to the next slide here.
Oh, hold it.
Yes.
Take a picture of
Oh, you take a picture of it?
that. Yeah.
It should be, should have been in the video too.
Oh. Well,
And I did put the probiotics here, that some of the really good quality ones. These are really pricey. These are prescription. These are about $100 for a month's supply. But Florigen and Floristore are really good ones that you can get without a prescription. Okay, so let me show you how my experimentation with this. So these are the lab markers we talked about. These are the ideal levels. And this was, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago for me. See, my homocysteine level was high, right? I didn't know this stuff. My C-reactive protein wasn't too bad. My HDL cholesterol, the good cholesterol, wasn't great. My LDL was too high. And when I talked to the cardiologist about my risk for heart disease, he said, yeah, your dad's had heart disease, you need to take cholesterol. Let me put you on Lipitor. I said, no, let me try to fix it. My vitamin D level was in the normal range. 32 is considered normal, but it's not optimal. So I started taking vitamin D. My triglycerides were pretty good. Really what prompted this was my weight was too high. I needed to lose weight. So I did the easy thing first. I said, I'm going to exercise because that wasn't hard for me. And I'll take the supplements that I just showed you. Thought I can do that. That's pretty easy. So this is the impact of supplements and exercise, which I was doing the exercise here. So this is really just the impact of supplements. So look what a B complex did to my homocysteine level. Look what the fish oil and turmeric did to my C-reactive protein. That's perfect. My HDL cholesterol didn't change. This is what 5 grams of fish oil did to me. That's like 5 big gel caps. I was taking as a teaspoon of oil, which is, I mean, it didn't taste bad for me, but it was getting pricey. You know, it's $35 a month for just the fish oil. So it came down 14 points, but that's not impressive. And if you're taking 1 or 2 fish oil capsules and thinking that's going to help your cholesterol, you're going to be disappointed because it's not going to make an impact. And then I wanted to know my insulin level because if you're ever struggling to lose weight, you need to know what your insulin level is. If it's higher than 5, your body's kind of in a fat-making state. So my insulin level wasn't great, but I knew if I wanted to lose weight, I had to get it down below 2. Okay, so there's my weight. And so these are the things I did, and you can see, you know, what changed. Okay, so then I said, all right, I need to do the hard part now. I need to do the Fit for Life part of this with a lot of vegetables, a lot of healthy foods from the produce section. So when I did that, look what changed. Whoops. So the problem here is I'm like a lot of you, I'm like, I've been taking a lot of vitamin B. Do I really need that B complex? I hadn't taken it in a while. Look what happened. I stopped taking it, went right back up. But look what, and the C-reactive protein was good, but when I started eating better, my good cholesterol went up, and look at my bad cholesterol. Now I'm right at the goal the cardiologist wanted me at. And this is not a perfect diet. I mean, you know, somebody saw me eating a cupcake. Somebody saw me buying donuts, but I was buying them. You didn't see me eating them. But the point is when I'm eating, I'm trying to make sure I get plenty of vegetables and healthy fruits and nuts and seeds and trying not to overeat. And so you can see this is a pretty drastic improvement. Look at my triglycerides; they came down really low, and look at my insulin level. If you walk into my office with this to this, I'll say, how many pounds have you lost? 10, 15, 20? Because when that happens, you know that person's not eating a lot of carbs. Okay, so this is the power of nutrition. But the point here is the power of food too, and it can change these numbers. So this gets motivating for me. This convinces me, yeah, I need to take vitamin D because 5,000 units only got me here. When I doubled it to 10,000, now I'm in the range. That's why I'm saying most of you are going to need 10,000 units. So I just think that was a really cool way to illustrate the role of supplements and the role of food. And the biggest impact is with the right foods. All right, so there's you know, you have to be careful. You don't want to get cheap supplements, discount chains, because there's nobody the FDA is not monitoring this. I think it's an investment in your health. You just have to prioritize how many you want. All right, so I'm not going to go through this. This is the key right here. Let food be your medicine. Don't let food be your party, you know, what you do because you're having a bad day and you want to console yourself. It should be your medicine. It doesn't always taste the greatest, right? But it will help you heal. I mean, we've had diabetics who are off 3 or 4 diabetic medications. We've had people with fibromyalgia with terrible pain. In 12 weeks, they've got hardly any detectable pain. because food is their medicine. Yes,
What was it, Nutriscriptives?
Yes.
Brand?
yes.
That could be bought at Maaco's?
You can buy it at Maaco's, yep. And if they don't have it in stock, they'll order it for you and send it to you. And you can also go to Nutriscriptives.com and get it.
But is it more, at a price on, when you get it directly from Nutriscriptives?
You can get it directly from Nutriscriptives, but their price is a little higher.
A little higher, okay.
Maaco's has a good price. So this is the last image I want you to remember. This is how you heal, right? So the best thing to drink is water, and these colorful foods, just a lot of different color, and this looks like pretty much everything came from the produce sections. Nothing in a box or a can here. Okay, so this week, what I want you to do is skip breakfast. That's to start the intermittent fasting idea. And fast for 18 hours each day of the week. If you're trying to lose weight, this is how you start doing this. Challenge yourself. It might be hard the first couple of days, but before you know it, you won't be really hungry in the morning. So you eat between noon and 6 or 1 and 7. And then don't eat 3 hours before bed. That's where we get into too many excess calories that are comfort food for us. We have to be careful we don't use that evening hour when we're unwinding, feeling sorry for ourselves because we had a hard day or stressed and we just want to, this is my time, nobody tell me what I can and can't do, I'm going to have those donuts. And then I want you to try to eat some fruits and vegetables. So 2 fruits and 4 vegetables every day. But it doesn't, I don't care if it's a little baby carrot and a little broccoli, flower, collarette, just 4 different colors. Okay, just get used to that. I don't think there's anything wrong with using ranch dressing with your cauliflower and broccoli. If that's what it takes to get it down, then do it. Because salad dressing it has a little bit of sugar in it, but it's more fat, and fat is not going to make you be fat. And if that's the price you pay to get good vegetables in, then do it. And now that you know what to eat, now it's okay to go to a restaurant and eat out because you'll be aware of the foods that are going to get you into trouble and the foods that are going to help you heal. Okay, so hopefully you're still doing your walking or something physically 5 days a week and you're completing the other assignments. So next week, again, we're going to talk about the right foods that help us heal and the right amounts, the combinations, and the right times. So that's when we'll go more into intermittent fasting, your protein requirements for your size, your carbohydrate needs, and all those things that'll help you really understand how to do this. Yes?
Is it okay to use some honey?
What's that?
Is it okay to use honey?
Yeah, you can use honey. I mean, honey's a natural sugar. I don't even care if you use brown sugar, but I don't want you to use a lot because those foods are going to raise your insulin level, and that's going to make you more hungry, and then you're going to struggle with weight if that's your goal. So you just got to really watch that. And again, we'll talk more about the carb intake next week. So if you can track that, if you have a teaspoon of honey with something, and you know how many carbs that is, and that's still under your limit, then you're okay. So we'll talk about that next week, though. Are there any other questions about supplements or anything we talked about? I wanted to leave more time to answer questions about supplements. Yes?
I just wonder why none of the supplements have been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they haven't been evaluated. Anybody can make a supplement
I know.
and sell it,
I know.
and nobody's verifying that it has what they claim it has.
That's why I'm wondering how you know where to go to get the right supplement.
That's why I did the homework for it, because actually, I know the people from Nutriscriptives, I've been in their lab, and I know what they did to get the results they have, and I know it's worked for me and for patients, so that's why I really recommend it, yes.
So if you're not a pill taker, like, is there, like, to start out slow, like, what do you recommend starting with? The vitamin B and the D?
Yes, those would probably be the 2 most important. Yeah, I would probably say that. If you have muscle cramps at night, or you have high blood pressure, try taking that magnesium, because most of the time that helps those nighttime cramps. But yeah, those are probably the 2 most important, because there's so much deficiency. And I tell people, take your supplements with your meals, because that's where you're supposed to be getting those nutrients. I mean, you can take them on an empty stomach, but you'll absorb fat-soluble vitamins better if there's fat in your meal, and you know, water-soluble with the other foods that you're eating. So just mix them in with your meals. Yeah.
You mentioned taking the antibiotics. My mother-in-law had a UTI in August, and now I think he has another. He's just been tested. We don't have the results. So I know he took antibiotics in the morning, 12 hours apart, and another in the evening. And you said take the
Probiotics.
probiotics between. Does that mean like around noon?
Yeah.
You say in between.
Yeah.
You don't wait till he's done with his prescription.
Right, yeah, just start right on it,
Got it.
and then take it until the whole bottle's gone, so maybe
Yeah.
another 2 weeks, just to put everything back in balance. Yeah. Anything else? Yes?
Andrew Lessman, have you heard about, I mean, are his,
The name's familiar. What is he?
it's vitamins, they sell them on HSN.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
Andrew Nussbaum.
And he says it's all natural, and
Yeah,
I've bought some of his stuff,
Okay.
I just didn't know if you knew anything
yeah,
about that.
I've heard of the name, but I don't know anything about the supplements.
Okay.
So, you know, that's, again, that's marketing. I mean, if he's paying for really nice advertisements, and he looks authoritative, and he looks nice, and he sells the image, then he's gonna sell the product. Because there's really, most of the time, there's no way to know if they're working unless you measure some of these numbers, right?
It shows scenes of his laboratories though and everything on TV too,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it shows that, yeah.
Yeah,
I bought some of his.
Multivitamin, in addition to the D and all the magnesium, and I
Yeah.
already take all of
yeah,
that.
I had a multivitamin on there, and I took it out because if you eat those foods that we've talked about, you don't need a multivitamin in addition to the vitamin D and the B complex and the other ones.
So if you're overloaded, I take a multivitamin for women over 60, and the D and
You could.
the B and all that.
I don't think it's gonna hurt anything, but in my mind, if you're eating half decent and you're supplementing those 4 or 5 key ones that I recommended at those levels, you probably don't need the multivitamin.
But it doesn't hurt.
It won't hurt, no.
Good. I need all help.
Yes.
I have a question about that water machine.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, you can use that on well water?
Yes.
Any type of water?
The only water that won't work in that is reverse osmosis water.
And will it remove, my daughter lives right beside a cornfield,
Yeah.
and we spray and spray.
Yes. There's really good filters in the machine that removes all that stuff. Yeah, and it'll tell you when the filter needs to be replaced. The maintenance on it is about $100 every year or two to replace the filter. But everything else is, it stays very functional for a long time.
What about a Brita system?
Brita will get out chlorine and some of the other contaminants, but it won't convert the water into something that's rich in antioxidants. If you watch that Pat Boone video, you'll see the guy put the meter in and say, see, look how high this is. This is really negative millivolt energy, very, very high in antioxidants. And then they'll compare it with Brita water or, Dasani water, and you'll see that it's positive, it's oxidizing, it's dead water, it's aging water. So that's a powerful demonstration.
And how harmful is water that's in bottles?
Well, that's hard. That's a good question. How harmful is water in bottles? We don't know. But the bottles are made of plastic, petroleum-based, and some of those petroleum-based molecules leach into the water. Some of them have estrogen-like compounds that fool your body into thinking it's estrogen, and for some people it may contribute to the, all the bleeding they get and the hysterectomies and the fibroids. It's just one of many contributing factors. So I'm not a big fan of bottled water, especially if it sits in your car and it gets hot, and then you chill it and drink it. I don't think I think you're better off to use your tap water with a Brita filter.
Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you recommend a collagen supplement?
Okay, yeah, the collagen supplement would be vitamin C. So collagen is the protein that keeps your skin nice and tight, right? And the concept is, okay, where your body makes collagen if you have enough vitamin C. You break it down with oxidative stress. So sunbathing breaks it down, smoking breaks it down, all those free radical destroying agents break down your natural collagen. Most people don't get enough vitamin C. So I take vitamin C and be careful with those things that break it down. But the reason why the collagen supplements don't work well in my mind is they're a protein that you're going to swallow, and what's your stomach going to do to that protein? Its job is to break it down into individual units, individual amino acids. So it's got to get past your stomach, then past your intestines are going to try to break it down further because the protease enzymes from your pancreas. Then it's got to be absorbed. Then it's got to go to your liver. Your liver says, do we like this molecule? If not, it's going to excrete it. Then the liver says, okay, this is okay. Put it back in circulation. Then it's got to get from your bloodstream into the cell where it's going to do its work. It's a long way to go to get a molecule that's probably going to have a lot of different things trying to break it down and act on it. That's why, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to take a collagen supplement.
How about bone broth?
What's that? Bone broth, I think bone broth is good, yeah. A lot of good nutrients in bone broth, yeah.
Homemade or processed in
Well, I mean, yeah, again, processed, you don't really know what's in it, but it's probably better than not having it, but homemade would probably be the best. It's a lot of work, but I don't know, I personally, I haven't really got to that point with bone broth, but I think the supplements I'm taking are probably giving me most of what I need. Yeah,
Does the body react differently when it eats high fructose corn syrup and when it eats fructose out of?
yes, yeah. So the fructose is fruit sugar, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't, and high fructose corn syrup is the same molecule, just in higher concentrations. So high fructose corn syrup, I mean, if you ate enough really sweet fruits, you'd turn up your insulin level and be hungry. I mean, try eating a pineapple. It tastes good, but you're going to be hungry after a pineapple. So, but the high fructose corn syrup is really going to crank up your insulin. It's really going to crank up ghrelin in your brain. It's going to say, keep feeding me, I'm starving, I'm ravished. So that's why the fruits that have less fructose, like berries, they're not going to do that to you. They're not going to raise your insulin, make you feel hungry. So that's a good point, though, because some people I can't eat, carrots and broccoli and cauliflower, but I can have peaches and apples and cantaloupe. Well, yeah, there's sugar in there, and if you're not burning it, you may turn on the insulin and make weight loss difficult. But I think it's okay to have those sugary fruits. Just understand that you shouldn't have them all the time and what they could do to you.
How do you feel about the plant-based protein and vitamin powdered health
For the
food?
shakes and stuff?
Shakes.
Yeah, I think I do like, and we'll talk about that too next week. I like the plant-based protein, like for shakes, much better than like one protein you shouldn't consume is casein. Casein is from cows. It's very hard to digest. It's very sticky, but a lot of them have whey in them. Whey protein is probably it's a cow-based protein that we can digest pretty well, but the plant-based like pea proteins and rice proteins, those are easier to digest. Yeah, so I think that's a good choice if you're supplementing for shakes. Yeah. Yes.
Taking a water machine or system, is that expensive?
Well, I guess it depends on your budget. I mean, the one I showed you is probably about $4,000. And again, but the only maintenance is a filter every 12 to 18 months for about $110. But when you see how it cleans the pesticides off your produce, some people put a switch, turn a switch, and it makes really alkaline water that acts as a degreaser, and that's what they'll actually make that and put it in their washing machines with no soap, and it gets the grease and grime out. People that are really trying to live, that really clean life, they like that. Okay, any other questions? Yes?
I'm probably gonna talk about it next week, but I'm trying to get my whole family on board. And so when I'm packing buckets, I know we're supposed to try to stay away from bread, but I'm wondering for like sandwiches with spelt bread, do you know anything about spelt or Ezekiel?
Yeah, if you can get your kids to eat it.
I know, I thought maybe You said stuff was okay. 'cause
Yeah. Yeah, that's, I mean, and it's tough with kids because they're gonna see their friend eating a bologna sandwich on white bread, they're gonna want that. Or they're gonna want a slice of pizza or chicken nuggets or something. So that's really tough. But, you know, you could put carrots and celery sticks in with some hummus or peanut butter. When they can kind of play with their food, sometimes they'll eat it better. Slice the apples up and give them a little, I had an apple and a little cup of peanut butter coming over just to hold me over. So kids will like that kind of stuff too. Yeah,
Peanut butter's okay with them to eat peanut butter.
read the label. I had a little guilt about eating my peanut butter, yes. There was high fructose corn syrup in it.
It helps with celery.
Yes, yeah, but you can buy the all natural kind in Amish country, it just doesn't taste the same. Yeah,
I was gonna say, I think it might be Smuckers, I'm not sure if I could quote it, but they label it as natural. Really read even the stuff that says
Yeah.
natural.
Yes.
Because it is not.
You're right.
If you go out, like the Amish country, I work out there, and you see it grinding, you know what's in it.
yeah,
But it is so deceiving, that peanut butter aisle, because I've done
Yeah.
that in red, and I'm
Uh-huh.
like, oh, it's so frustrating.
I think I showed you a slide last week that says there's no legal definition for what natural means. You could be honey, you know, so, yeah, it's deceiving for sure. Yes,
In answer to her question with the bread and the lunches and stuff, Aldi's makes a seed-tastic bread in thin slice and thick slice.
okay,
I prefer the thin.
yeah.
It's loaded with 21 different seeds.
Oh, that sounds good.
I could eat the whole loaf in one day. I'm limiting it to one piece in the morning.
Okay,
And I know that, yeah, you're not supposed to have bread, yeah, it all has wheat, gluten in it, but I think, other than going over to Germany and getting the German bread, which I
yeah,
was told the reason Americans have so much teeth rot is because our teeth do not exercise by eating good, hard bread like we in Germany.
mhm,
All your bread's fluffy. So I did buy the seed bread and all this stuff, you know, the homemade and artesian and whatever.
Yeah.
He says, no, it's still too fluffy. Oh,
So all these questions come back to just improving where you are, right? Because you could go to the extreme and almost be vegetarian and not take anything but water out of a machine and spend $200 on supplements, and you're probably not gonna do that. But as long as you're aware of what you're doing, if you're not losing weight, you start adding up your carbs, you will see why. And you try to do the best you can, but still be human. I mean, if you told me I can never have sugar again, I would just give up. But I know when I eat sugar, I pay a price for it. And you have to find that level of discipline that works for you and not be too hard on yourself. But if you're stuck and you're not losing weight, or you're still inflamed and you're hurting, you're probably not making enough changes in your diet to get where you need to be. And you have to figure that out. It's kind of a trial and error. All right, Kelly, did you want to say anything before we
I
end?
just wanted to make sure that everyone picked up one of these tri-fold food guides, because trust me, you will need that. There's some extra copies in the back, but make sure that you take that home, put it on your fridge, whatever you need to do, but you'll be using that a lot coming up these coming weeks. And next week, I'm gonna set out a bunch of tables of displays that show like what portion sizes should look like and things like that. So we're definitely, gonna learn a little bit there. So we're gonna have it in this room right here for you guys to look at next week, a lot of different displays and the fat suits and. That's all.
Okay, all right, we'll see you next week. Keep checking your Facebook page. We'll keep posting stuff for you.